I still can't shake that night. I'm standing in front of the bathroom mirror, tiles chipped, sink cracked, and all I can see is someone I don't recognize. My own face, but colder. 6 months ago, everything changed. That's when Alex moved in. Too smooth, too perfect. He charmed my friends, started that casual crush with Mia, and before I knew it, I was the bad guy. They spun this story about me being bitter, obsessive, toxic. Everyone bought it. I lost my apartment, my job, even my therapist ghosted me, but I didn't back down. I watched them. Alex walking Mia home. Mia's sweet, thank you for the night. Texts, their happy, stupid plans. It was like eating glass. So I did what I had to. I made a plan. I found their routines. I wrote it all down in a little black notebook. Their names, times, places, secret spots. Last night, I slipped a note into Alex's jacket pocket during his Zumba class. I see you. Just 4 words. But I watched him jump. I like that. They're feeling it now. And I'm not stopping until they know regret. Asterisk September 14th, 2024. I didn't plan to become the kind of person who writes stuff like this. But when your whole life falls apart in 3 weeks, sometimes all that's left is the story you tell yourself to make it through. My name's Riley. I'm 29, was working in event planning until, well, you'll see. Up until recently, I was living with my best friend of 8 years, Tessa. She and I were practically sisters. And I mean the real kind, the kind that fights over which pizza to order, cries on the bathroom floor together, knows each other's insecurities and still stays. And then he happened. Alex. Tessa, single quotes, this childhood friend, turned just staying with us for a week, turned, hey Riley, Alex is actually gonna stay a bit longer, hope that's cool. Spoiler, it wasn't cool. Not because I had a thing for him, but because he was a manipulative, sugar-coated virus in skinny jeans. In 3 months, he turned Tessa against me. Subtle stuff at first, gaslighting, smirks, telling her she deserved better than me. As a friend. Then came the real blow. He got me fired. That's not drama. That's a fact. I managed a venue downtown where we handled corporate and high-end private events. I loved that job. Alex showed up one day to help Tessa deliver my lunch. Next thing I know, he's chatting with my boss about sound setups. The week after, my boss tells me a client saw me drinking on the job. Total lie. Guess who suddenly got offered my spot for freelance tech consulting? You already know. When I confronted Tessa, she cried. She cried. Said I'd always been so jealous of people who outshined me. Packed my stuff in 2 hours. Tessa didn't even come downstairs. That was 3 weeks ago. I've been sleeping on my cousin Lacey's couch. She's sweet, but she's got 2 toddlers and a husband who snores like a dying engine. Every morning I wake up wondering how this became my life, but last night, something changed. September 15th, 2024, I saw a post. Tessa and Alex at the rooftop bar I introduced her to. Matching drinks. Hashtag power couple. I felt something tighten in my chest, like my lungs folded in half. I didn't cry. I just sat there staring. And then I laughed. Because if that's how they want to play it, okay? Let's play. September 17th, 2024, I bought a notebook today. Black leather, pocket-sized, unassuming. Looks like a grocery list or maybe poetry scribbles. Inside, it's different. Inside, it's a warm out. Page 1, Alex. Page 2, Tessa. Page 3, the timeline. Everything they've done, said, posted, liked, or shared. I screenshot, print, and tape them in. This isn't revenge. It's record keeping, not for them, for me. Because when this ends, I want to remember every detail of how I got it all back. September 2024, Alex picks up coffee every morning at 7:40 a.m. from Sunrise Roasters. Hazelnut, oat milk, no foam. Tessa joins him Tuesdays and Thursdays. On Saturdays, they go to yoga and brunch. He's still freelancing, mostly from home. She's managing social for a skincare brand. They live in my apartment now. I mean that. Literally, the lease is still half in my name. I never got it transferred. Alex probably thinks I'm too broken to notice. I'm not. September 23rd, 2024. First strike, I left an envelope under Tessa's windshield wiper. Inside, a blurry photo of her and Alex entering the rooftop bar last week. Taken from a weird angle. Like someone was watching them. No return address. No note. Just the picture. The next morning, she made her Instagram private. I didn't smile. I grinned. September 25th, 2024. I went downtown today. Same street, same building where I used to run. Events. Walked right past the place like a ghost of my old life. That's when I saw Alex inside. He was setting up lighting for some corporate cocktail night, laughing with people, holding a clipboard like he belonged. I stood across the street for 15 minutes. Then I took a picture. And then I left a message, typed on a plain sheet of paper. Your past knows where you work. Folded it. Slid it between the windshield and the wiper of his car this time. No response yet, but I'll wait. September 26, 2024. Tessa texted me today. Just one line. Did you leave something on Alex's car? I didn't reply. That silence. That's the first real noise I've made. Asterisk September 28th, 2024. I couldn't sleep last night. I kept picturing Tessa's face when she opened that windshield photo. Did she feel watched, unsafe, betrayed? Good, that's just the beginning. I used to wonder how people become vengeful. Now I get it. You don't become cold. You get there drop by drop. October 1st, 2024. Found something interesting. Alex has a pattern. Every Monday, he sends an invoice to a small venue called the Copper Room. I called them. Used a fake name, said I was checking references for a potential hire. The manager, Ben, was super helpful. Oh, Alex? Yeah, he's great. He helped us get new lighting in place. Knows his stuff. I asked if they do background checks on their contractors. Ben hesitated. Not really. Should we have? Bingo. Time to remind them why they should. October 2nd, 2024. Left a manila envelope at the Copper Room this morning. Inside, copies of Alex's fake LinkedIn credentials. He listed a company that went out of business in 2019, a printed Yelp review. I wrote under a pseudonym claiming he vanished mid-event and stole equipment, a burner email for follow-up questions. That night, I saw Alex tweet something bitter about fake accusations killing honest gigs. He deleted it 5 minutes later. So I screenshotted it and smiled. October 4th, 2024. Tessa posted something strange today. A photo of her holding a book and coffee. Caption: when the world feels off, come back to who you were. She's unraveling. It wasn't just the picture, it was her eyes. I zoomed in. Her smile was there, but her eyes looked like mine used to numb. There's a saying about monsters that staring too long into one can make you into one. I'm not sure I agree. Sometimes monsters are just people who've had enough. October 5th, 2024. I ran into Mia today. Not my Mia. Not anymore. But still, seeing her on 3rd and Alcott Street felt like a punch. She didn't see me. She was with a guy someone I didn't recognize. She laughed. It wasn't her show laugh. It was her real one. The kind I used to work for. I stood across the street for a full minute. And then I walked away. This part of me, this shadow part, wants to destroy everything. But another small, tired piece just wants her to know the truth. That I didn't lie. That I didn't deserve any of it. That I miss her. October 7th, 2024. Back to work. New target. Alex's next gig, October 12th, corporate awards dinner at Bloom Gallery. I or SVPD anonymously picked up a thrift store dress. I'm not going to crash it. I'm going to shift it. I found the head of catering online, told her I was an ex-client. Just a heads up, your lighting guy has a history of stealing credit card data. Might want to keep an eye on him. Maybe it's a stretch, but paranoia spreads fast. October 10th, 2024, Tessa texted me again. I think someone's messing with Alex. Please tell me it's not you. I left her on read. A minute later, I still think of you. I don't know what happened. That part stung Dot because I know exactly what happened. She picked comfort over truth. Easy smiles over hard loyalty. And now she's sitting in a haunted apartment wondering where the footsteps are coming from. October 12th, 2024. I stood outside Bloom Gallery for 30 minutes tonight. Saw Alex inside, pacing, talking to some guy in a vest. The event looked tense. Later, I checked Instagram. Someone posted a video of the lights flickering during a speech. One of the staff comments underneath, never hiring him again. Mission accomplished, October 14th, 2024. I finally answered Tessa Dot just 2 words. You chose him. That's it. No punctuation. No signature dot. She hasn't replied. October 17th, 2024. I think this is working. I heard from Lacey that Tessa's job is in jeopardy. Some company account got locked due to suspicious sharing. Alex helped her set up that new phone, remember? Wonder if he saved the password somewhere. I didn't touch her work, but I know how it looks. Sometimes all you need is suggestion. The mind fills in the rest. October 20th, 2024. I caught myself smiling at a stranger in a bookstore. Today, Dot, he smiled back. That surprised me, Dot, because for a second, I wasn't the ghost in my own life anymore. I wasn't Riley who got replaced. I was just Riley in a store, looking at books, smiling at a guy, but then I remembered everything and the moment dissolved. I'm not done yet. October 21st, 2024. I got a call, blocked number. The voice was Alex. Dot. He didn't say his name. Just said, I don't know what game you're playing, but you need to stop. I stayed silent. He hung up. He's rattled now. Good. October 22nd, 2024. Tessa left me a voicemail tonight. It was quiet, shaky. I saved it, played it 3 times. I don't know if you hate me or if you're trying to protect me in some weird way. I miss you. And I don't even know who I'm supposed to be mad at anymore. I'm sorry, okay? I didn't cry, but I did pause. Asterisk October 24th, 2024. I replayed Tessa's voicemail again this morning. Her voice cracks on the word sorry. Maybe she means it. Or maybe she's just finally scared. Either way, I've got her attention. I thought about calling her back. I even opened my contacts, thumb hovering over her name, but instead, I wrote another note, printed, no handwriting to trace. Just 1 sentence. If you knew everything, would you still choose him? I mailed it. No return address. Let her sit. With that, October 25th, 2024, I did some digging today. Alex has a trail. It's not obvious unless you know what to look for, but it's there. 3 years ago, he left New York suddenly. Rumors about crossed boundaries with a married coworker. 2 jobs in Chicago, both short stints. Then LA for 6 months. Then here. There's no criminal record. He's slippery like that. But where there's smoke, there's always something waiting to burn. October 27th, 2024. I met someone today. Elliot. Tall, quiet. Works at the bookstore near Lacey's place. He helped me find a book I wasn't even really looking for. We got coffee after. I told him my name was Ray. He asked what I did. I lied. I said I was between projects. He said, aren't we all? It was easy. It was kind. It was dangerous because it made me want something else again. October 28th, 2024. Tessa posted a throwback today. Just her at the lake in a hoodie I gave her years ago. Caption, wish we could rewind sometimes. It almost got to me, but then I remembered the day I walked into our place and saw Alex's jacket on my desk chair. That's when I knew she hadn't just fallen for him. She'd made space for him, by removing me. October 30th, 2024. Lacey asked me today, "Are you okay?" I said yes. She didn't believe me. She looked me dead in the eye and said, "You're quieter and scarier." I didn't know how to respond to that, but maybe that means the plan's working. October 31st, 2024. Halloween. I left a gift in there. Mailbox. A small jack-o'-lantern carved into a scream with a tiny camera inside the mouth. No battery. Just for show, but they don't know that Tessa posted nothing today. Alex deleted his Twitter. I think I hit a nerve. November 1st, 2024, I ran into Alex today. By accident, maybe. He didn't say anything. Just stared at me like I crawled out of a grave. I smiled. Not big, not threatening. Just enough. Then I walked past him and whispered, "Check your messages." He did that an hour later. He posted a long-winded taking a break from socials note. November 3rd, 2024, I called Tessa. No, after everything, I didn't plan to say much. But she picked up on the first ring. Riley? Her voice cracked. I just said, "I didn't lie to you." He did. She didn't speak for a while, then whispered, "I know." That was it, but it was enough. November 4th, 2024, Tessa moved out. Officially. But I passed by the apartment today. Her plants were gone. No car in the driveway. Alex was standing alone on the balcony, holding a mug like he was in a sad indie film. You could feel the silence from across the street. He looked smaller. November 5th, 2024. Tessa texted me. I saw the screenshots. I saw the messages. I'm so sorry. And then, I don't expect you to forgive me, but thank you for showing me. I didn't reply. That's not punishment, that's peace. November 6th, 2024. I boxed up the black notebook today. Everything. The notes, the pictures, the receipts, sealed it with tape. Put it under my bed. I don't need it anymore. November 7th, 2024. I saw Elliot again. This time I told him my real name. He just smiled and said, "Hi, Riley." Like, it wasn't a big deal, but to me, it was everything. November 8th, 2024, Alex is gone. Tessa told Lacey that he left town. Said he had too many enemies here. I don't know where he went, and I don't care. The silence he left behind is enough. Asterisk November 10th, 2024. I slept through the night for the first time in months. No racing thoughts. No imaginary confrontations. Just stillness. When I woke up, sunlight was spilling across the floor like a soft apology. November 12th, 2024. Lacey asked if I was done. She didn't say it with judgment. Just curiosity. I told her I wasn't sure. Because what does done even mean when you've rebuilt yourself from splinters? When you've crawled back from emotional ruin and weaponized your pain? I don't think I'll ever be the version of me that existed before Alex, or before Tessa handed me the knife he used to cut me out, but maybe that's okay. November 13th, 2024. I opened the box today. The one with the notebook. Everything inside felt foreign, like it belonged to someone else. The handwriting was mine, but the energy, the fury, the darkness. I read a few pages. I winced at how far I went, the lies, the suggestions, the way I used people's assumptions as tools, but I also felt proud. Not of the damage, but of the survival, the clarity, the way I refused to be erased. November 15th, 2024. Tessa emailed me today. No texts. No voicemails. Just a clean, sincere email. I don't expect you to read this. But if you do, I want you to know I've been in therapy. I've been going back over our last year together. The way I let him speak for me. How I gave him space. By taking yours. I was weak, Riley. Not because I didn't see who he was, but because I did, and I let him win anyway. I'm sorry. You didn't deserve any of it. I didn't reply, but I did cry, softly, quietly, not out of pain, out of relief. November 17th, 2024. I went back to the venue today, the one I used to manage. Just to see it, it looked smaller than I remembered. Maybe because I was standing taller. Now Ben, the old security guy, recognized me. Hey, Riley. Haven't seen you around, heard you moved on to bigger things. I just smiled, something like that. November 18th, 2024, I ran into Mia today, at the bookstore. Of course, she looked surprised, then unsure, then kind. We chatted about nothing, books, coffee, a dumb display with glitter pumpkins. I could tell she wanted to ask I could also tell she didn't. Before we parted ways, she said, "You look good." And for once, I believed it. November 20th, 2024. Elliot and I went out for real. Dinner, not coffee. He picked an Ethiopian place I'd never heard of. We laughed. We touched hands across the table. I told him more of the truth, still not everything, but enough. He didn't flinch. He said, "Sometimes surviving makes you stronger. Sometimes it just makes you tired. Either way, I'm here." I could have kissed him right then, instead. I just held his hand tighter. November 23rd, 2024. I deleted the backup drive, the one with all the screenshots, the recordings, the just-in-case files gone. I watched the progress bar crawl across the screen and felt like I was dissolving poison from my system. November 24th, 2024. Last night, I dreamed of the apartment. It was empty, clean, sunlight through the curtains. No furniture, no sound, but in the middle of the living room floor was a note. I walked over and picked it up. It read, "You made it." November 25th, 2024. Today I walked past a group of women laughing on a bench. One of them had the exact laugh Tessa used to have when we were teenagers, loud and unfiltered. It didn't hurt. It actually made me smile. I used to think revenge would feel like fire-hot, explosive, dramatic. But now I realize real revenge is silence. Not the kind that screams inside you, but the kind that finally lets you breathe. I applaud you, A. If you told me a year ago that I'd lose my job, my best friend, my partner, my home, I would have laughed in disbelief. But I did, and I survived. No, more than survived. I became not someone new, just someone I was too scared to be before. So here's what I learned. In case anyone ever rips your world out from under you, you're allowed to burn. You're allowed to rebuild. You're allowed to never say sorry for saving yourself. This wasn't about getting even. It was about remembering I was never beneath them. They just couldn't handle standing next to me.
He looked me dead in the eyes and said it like it was nothing. "There's no place for you here." I smiled, nodded, and walked away without a word. What he didn't know, by the next morning, he'd lose the house because half of it belonged to me. It all started the day I handed my son, Liam, the $200,000 life insurance check from my late husband. "This is for your future," I told him. Little did I know, the man who was supposed to love me was already planning to push me out. His new wife, Madison, played the perfect host, but behind the scenes, things were changing fast. I was living in their big, cold, modern house, a guest room with no closet, a bed, and a tiny bathroom. The silence was louder than words. Passive-aggressive comments, locked kitchen cabinets, and cold shoulders became the new normal. When I overheard them plotting to make me uncomfortable enough to leave, I knew it was time for my own plan, because I wasn't going anywhere. Not without a fight. Asterisk, he looked me right in the eyes and said it like I was some unwanted guest. There's no place for you here. I just smiled, nodded, and walked away without a word. What he didn't know was that by the next morning he'd lose the house because half of it belonged to me. It all started the day I handed my son, Liam, the $200,000 life insurance check from my late husband, Mark. "This is for your future," I told him with a smile. I thought I was doing the right thing, helping my son and his new wife Madison build a life. They'd just gotten married, looking for a nice house in a quiet suburb of Chicago. The bank wouldn't give them the full mortgage, so I stepped in to help with the down payment. Madison hugged me like I was part of the family, promising, "You'll always have a place here." Liam kissed my cheek and said, "Mom, you'll never have to lift a finger again." But promises are easy to make when you don't mean them. The house was beautiful, big, modern, and cold. White walls, gray floors, an open kitchen that looked more like a showroom than a place to cook. My room was the guest bedroom downstairs. No closet, a simple bed, and a tiny bathroom without a shower. I didn't complain. Honestly, I was just happy to hear life in the house again after years of silence. The first few days were okay. Liam made coffee in the morning. Madison showed me how to use the fancy thermostat, even helped with the Wi-Fi. But the small kindnesses faded fast. One night, I heard Madison on the phone, saying, "She's nice, but we need our own space. This can't go on." At first, I thought maybe it was just stress. But then, little things started changing. They locked the top fridge with a padlock. Madison said it was for her special diet. The Wi-Fi router got moved to an office I wasn't allowed in. I went 3 days without Netflix. I kept quiet, kept smiling, folding towels, cleaning the kitchen. I gave them space. But then came the whispers, the passive-aggressive comments. Madison, laughing with friends, saying, "She lives here with 2 kids and a grandma." Liam grumbled when I asked if I could put a shelf in the laundry room. One morning, on my way to make tea, I overheard a conversation that froze me in place. Liam's voice, "She won't leave if we're nice." Madison's, "Make her uncomfortable, she'll go on her own." I stared at the wallpaper I'd picked out just days before. My son, my only son, was plotting to push me out. That night, I cooked Liam's favorite, chicken Alfredo. Nobody came down. Madison said she'd already eaten. Liam muttered something about work and stayed upstairs. I ate alone, slowly, thinking about everything I'd done for them, the love, the sacrifices, the hopes, and I made a decision. I wasn't going anywhere. After that night, when I sat there, eating chicken Alfredo alone, something inside me shifted. I realized that no one was going to save me but myself. Liam and Madison thought they could push me out quietly, but I had other plans. First, I needed information. I couldn't just confront them without proof. That would only make me look desperate. So I started watching, listening. Every conversation I could overhear, every little detail, but Madison was careful, but not careful enough. I noticed the way she hid emails on her laptop, the way Liam got nervous when I was around. I even found out that the house's title was in both my name and Liam's. That gave me some leverage. I reached out quietly to a lawyer friend. She told me my rights, and that I had every reason to fight for my half of the house. But it wasn't just about the house. It was about respect. About not letting my own blood erase me. Every day, I documented everything. Passive-aggressive notes, locked doors, changes they made without telling me. I kept a journal, a record that I knew would come in handy. I also started reconnecting with old friends, people I hadn't seen in years but who still cared. I needed allies, people who could back me up if things went south. Then came the subtle moves. I began fixing things around the house quietly, little repairs, leaving notes about maintenance issues. I made sure the neighbors knew I was still there, still part of this family. One evening, I found Madison on the phone, whispering about getting me out before the house value dropped. That was my opening. I compiled everything I had into a folder. Photos of locked kitchen cabinets, audio recordings of their plans, copies of emails I'd found. It was time to make my move, but I wasn't ready yet. I wanted to wait for the perfect moment, when they least expected it, because sometimes the best revenge is patience. The days after I started gathering proof felt like I was living two lives. On the surface, I was the quiet, patient mother-in-laundry, smiling politely, pretending everything was fine. But beneath that calm exterior, a storm was building. Every locked door, every cold glance, every whispered conversation was another brick in the wall I was determined to tear down. I wasn't just going to leave quietly like they hoped. One afternoon, I sat down with the folder I'd put together, my hands shaking slightly as I went through every piece of evidence. Photos of locked cupboards, screenshots of suspicious emails, recordings of whispered plans. It wasn't just enough to prove my rights, it was enough to expose the truth to the bank, the neighbors, even the town. That night, I contacted my lawyer again, explaining everything. She assured me I was in a strong position. Legally, half the house was mine, and any attempt to force me out without compensation would be challenged. Meanwhile, Liam and Madison's smiles started slipping. The Cold War was turning hot. One morning, I noticed the driveway blocked by a moving truck. They were trying to sell my old car, something I hadn't even used in months. It was a petty move, but it stung. They thought I was just an obstacle, a fading shadow in their new life. But I wasn't going anywhere. I began reaching out to the neighbors, subtly letting them know what was happening. Some had already noticed the tension, but I made sure they understood I wasn't the problem. I even found out through a neighbor that Madison was trying to get the house's value lowered by claiming neglect on my part. That was the last straw. Documented every repair I'd made, the leaking faucet fixed, the broken window replaced, the squeaky door oiled. If they thought I was careless, I'd prove them wrong. One evening, Liam confronted me, his voice low and angry. "You need to go, Mom. This isn't your home anymore." I looked him in the eyes, calm but firm. "It is as much mine as it is yours, and I'm not leaving without what's rightfully mine." He stormed off, but I felt a strange sense of victory. I was finally standing my ground. The tension in the house was thick enough to cut with a knife. Every morning I woke up wondering what new obstacle Liam and Madison would throw in my path. They grew bolder. Subtle passive-aggressiveness shifted into outright hostility. I found my things moved, phone messages ignored, and once, my car was blocked in the driveway so I couldn't leave. But through it all, I held on to one thing, my dignity. I refused to be pushed aside like some inconvenient memory. The house may have been their battlefield, but it was also my home, legally and emotionally. With my lawyer's help, we filed a formal claim with the bank and the local courts. The house's ownership was frozen. No selling, no refinancing, no sneaky moves. This bought me the time I needed. I started documenting everything obsessively. Every threat, every lie, every time they tried to gaslight me or make me doubt myself. I recorded conversations, saved texts, took pictures of the damages and changes they made without my knowledge. It felt like a war, but I was ready. One afternoon, I sat in the lawyer's office, going through the paperwork. She looked at me and said, "Evelyn, you're stronger than most people I've seen in situations like this. You have every right to fight, and you're doing it right." That gave me strength. Then came the mediation meeting, a cold room with a long table where I sat facing Liam and Madison. The smiles they wore were fake, strained, like masks barely holding back contempt. I laid everything out carefully, piece by piece, the locked cabinets, the attempts to cut me off from the house's internet and utilities, the efforts to sell my belongings, even the whispered plans to make me leave by any means necessary. I spoke from the heart, too, about betrayal, broken promises, and how family should mean more than property lines and bank accounts. The mediator nodded thoughtfully, asking tough questions. Liam shifted uncomfortably. Madison avoided eye contact. After hours of negotiations, they offered a settlement. They would buy my share of the house at a fair market value. It wasn't the victory I dreamed of, but it was closure I accepted. Walking out of that room with the settlement check in my hand was bittersweet. I'd lost a home, but I'd gained something much more important: respect and my peace of mind. The house that once echoed with tension and silence was now behind me. I used the money to move into a small but cozy apartment, a fresh start. I painted the walls my favorite colors, hung pictures of happier times, and finally felt free. Looking back, I realized the greatest revenge wasn't exposing Liam and Madison, or forcing them to pay me. It was reclaiming my life on my own terms. I rebuilt my confidence, reconnected with old friends, and started volunteering at a local community center. I found joy in helping others rebuild after their own struggles. Sometimes, revenge is loud and furious, a blaze that burns everything down. But sometimes, it's quiet, steady, and patient. It's the strength to say, "I will not be erased." That was my revenge, and it was sweeter than I ever imagined. All right. So that's my story. A story about betrayal, about being pushed out by the people I loved most, my own son and his new wife. I won't lie, it was one of the hardest chapters of my life. But through all the pain and heartbreak, I found strength I didn't know I had. If there's one thing I want you to take away from this, it's this: no matter how dark things get, no matter how alone you feel, you can fight back. You don't have to let anyone erase you or make you feel invisible. Sometimes, the quietest, strongest revenge is just standing your ground and refusing to be broken. If this story touched you, if you've ever faced betrayal or had to fight for your place in the world, please hit that like button. It means more than you know and helps me bring more stories like this your way. Don't forget to subscribe and tap that notification bell so you never miss a new video. I've got plenty more real-life stories coming up, stories of resilience, heartbreak, and yes, revenge. And hey, I want to hear from you. Have you ever been betrayed by someone you loved? How did you deal with it? Drop your thoughts or your own stories in the comments. I read every single one, and I'm here to listen. Thanks for spending time with me today. It means a lot. Remember, you're stronger than you think, and sometimes the best revenge is just living well. Until next time, take care of yourself.
You know what's funny? People love to say family comes first. They'll slap it on bumper stickers, post it on Facebook like it's gospel. But when it really matters, when it's inconvenient or messy or uncomfortable, suddenly, it's, you're taking up space, you've had your time, or my personal favorite, this just isn't working anymore. That's the one my daughter used on me, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me take you back 5 years, back when I was still useful. I was living in Kiel at the time, a quiet little street, 2 blocks from a bakery, with a creaky old porch and a row of lavender bushes my husband planted. Hans passed away the year before. Sudden heart attack while trimming the rose hedge. One moment he was there, humming to the birds, the next just gone. We were married 43 years. And let me tell you, he wasn't perfect. He snored like a bear and never rinsed his coffee mugs, but he loved me. I never had to question that. After he died, I kept the house spotless. I had time, too much of it, actually. Morning tea turned into lunch alone. I'd go days without speaking to anyone but the cat next door. It wasn't sad, exactly. It was just quiet. Then came the call. It was Anna, my daughter, my only child. She was crying. Mom, we're screwed. Sven got laid off, and the mortgage is eating us alive. Emma's tuition is due, and we can't even cover utilities this month. I didn't even blink. I told her, I'll help, whatever you need. 2 weeks later, I sold the house Hans and I built together, packed 2 old suitcases, took my wedding photo off the wall, folded up the blanket from our first apartment, and boarded a train to Munich. I didn't even take the antique dresser that was in our family for 3 generations, because family needed me. When I arrived, they welcomed me like a hero. Anna hugged me for too long. Sven gave me a strained smile and said, "We're so lucky to have you, Gerda, Emma, my sweet, beautiful granddaughter." And to me, like she used to when she was 5. It felt right. Like maybe this was the next chapter of my life, one with purpose. They set me up in the guest room downstairs. No closet, barely a window, but I said nothing. It had a bed and a small bathroom, no shower, but I could manage. I gave them the money, euro 140,000, all I had from the sale of the house. They cried. Anna promised, "You'll never need to worry again. You're with us now." Sven poured wine. "To family," he said, and I believed them. The first few months were fine. I helped out around the house, cooked most meals, cleaned without being asked, ironed shirts and folded socks. I didn't do it to prove anything. I just wanted to be useful. They never said thank you, but I didn't expect it. I was just happy to hear voices in the morning, to feel like I belonged somewhere again. Emma and I would play cards in the evenings. She'd ask about her grandfather, about how we met, what school was like in the 60s. I'd tell her stories and watch her eyes widen in that way kids do when they forget you're old. It gave me life. But then, slowly, things shifted. Emma got busy with school and stopped coming home as much. Sven started leaving early and coming home later, barely acknowledging me when he walked through the door. And Anna Shay, just got colder. She'd look at me like I was a guest who'd overstayed their welcome, like I was one more dish in the sink. I told myself it was stress, that things would get better, until one night, I overheard her. She was in the kitchen, talking on the phone, whispering like a teenager hiding from her parents. She's always here. In the kitchen, the hallway, the laundry room. I can't breathe. I feel like I'm living with a ghost. There was silence. Then, quietly, "We have to get her out, before she starts getting sick or something. I can't take care of another person." I stood in the hallway, holding a basket of folded towels. I didn't cry, but something in me shifted. The final blow came a few weeks later. Emma came home for the weekend. She walked in, didn't even take off her headphones, looked me right in the eye and said, "You've already lived your life, Grandma. We need the space." Like it was nothing. Like she was asking me to pass the salt. Sven nodded from the living room. Anna didn't even come out. I smiled, nodded, and walked out. But here's the thing. They thought they were done with me. They forgot who taught them to hold a pen, who stayed up during fevers, who packed lunches with stupid little notes. They forgot I may be old, but I'm not weak. And I wasn't leaving empty-handed because I had a folder, a very thick one, with copies of the property agreement, bank transfers, signed receipts, one in particular, stating I had lifetime living rights in the house. I may not have said a word that night, but I had already started preparing my reply. And my reply would come with a lawyer. Asterisk, I didn't go to a hotel. I didn't cry. I didn't even call Ruth right away. I took the train 2 stops away and sat in a quiet cafe for 2 hours with a notepad, a pen, and a pot of weak coffee. Then I made a list, a full page, of what they owed me, what I gave, what they promised. It wasn't just the money, it was the years, the trust, the unspoken sacrifices. I spent the night with Ruth. She's been my best friend since 1972. We worked together at the library. She took one look at my face when I showed up and didn't ask a single question, just said, "Tea or wine?" I said, "Both." The next morning, I called a lawyer. Not a big firm. I wanted someone sharp, detail-obsessed, and just angry enough to take me seriously. Mr. Kleist was in his early 40s, balding with a voice like sandpaper and a mind like a steel trap. He didn't flinch when I told him I was suing my own daughter, didn't blink when I handed over the manila envelope full of documents. He flipped through every paper, nodding slowly. "Mrs. Bergman," he said after a pause, "if everything here checks out, and it looks like it does, you're legally entitled to at least half the property value, and potentially more, depending on how the funds were used." "And my living rights?" I asked. "Also valid." "That clause is enforceable, especially since she signed it in her own handwriting, and there's a witness signature." I hadn't even remembered the witness. Turns out it was their old neighbor, Klaus. He always did love paperwork. By the end of that week, Kleist had filed the first notice, a formal demand letter, delivered by hand. I wasn't there to see their faces, but I imagined it. Sven in his bathrobe, Anna behind him with her mouth slightly open, and Emma just gone. They didn't call, not a word. 3 days later, their attorney called with some nonsense about reconsidering terms and private resolution. Kleist laughed. "I don't think so," he said. "We'll see you in court. Let me tell you something about the legal process. It's slow, it's cold, but it's relentless. Once it starts, it moves like a glacier and crushes everything in its path." While the case built up, I got busy. I started gathering more than just documents. I found out Sven had been working late at a co-working space with a woman named Lee, who posted just a little too much on Instagram. I printed screenshots. I found out Anna had used my signature to co-sign a personal line of credit. Forgery. Also printed. Kleist was impressed. "You're scary," he said. "I was a librarian," I replied. The tipping point came when the bank records arrived. We traced the 140,000 euros I gave them. Only 90,000 euros went toward the house. The rest, gone. Trips, electronics, school clothes for Emma. Yes, but also a new patio set. Some cosmetic surgery for Anna, which she told me was a dental emergency. And of course Sven's electric bike. They used me like an ATM, silent, guilt-free, zero-interest bank. And when the account was empty, they tossed it. But I wasn't empty. I was just getting started. A month later, Kleist served them with the court motion, partition by sale. Basically, if 2 people own a property and can't agree on what to do with it, one can force its sale. Anna could scream, deny, sob. The law was on my side. I did receive one call, from Anna Eilert. It rang 5 times before answering. Her voice was thin, tired. "Mom, please, don't do this. We'll lose everything." "No," I said. "You'll lose everything. I already did." Silence. "Then, you'll never see us again, if you go through with this." I paused, then said, "Wasn't planning on it." The official court notice went out 2 weeks later. They had 60 days to vacate or buy me out. Sven sent one last message. "You were supposed to be family." I replied with a screenshot of the bank transfer. Captioned, I didn't expect it to feel good. Not really. When the auction date was set, I imagined I'd feel heavy, sad, maybe. This was the house I helped them buy. The place where I heard Emma's teenage laughter through the walls, where I folded Sven's laundry and hung up Anna's coats. But when I stood outside that house again, I didn't feel heavy. I felt clean. The front yard looked worse than I remembered. The hedges were overgrown. The window boxes I once filled with petunias were empty. The front steps had a small crack I told Sven about years ago. He never fixed it. Typical. Inside, they were packing. Anna avoided eye contact. Sven muttered something about lawyers ruining lives. I didn't answer. Emma wasn't there. I walked through each room, technically still half mine without a word. The kitchen still smelled faintly of cinnamon. I touched the edge of the table I once polished every Sunday. In the guest room, my old scarf was still hanging on the chair. No one had touched it. The auction happened 2 days later. Quiet, efficient. A young couple won the beta teacher and an artist. They were expecting their first child. I congratulated them, told them the sun hits the upstairs bedroom best in the morning. They smiled like I was someone's sweet grandmother. I didn't correct them. My cut of the sale was just over €220,000. I bought a 2-bedroom apartment near the harbor. Nothing fancy, but it had a balcony, a working elevator, and a view of the water that made me feel lighter every time I looked at it. Ruth helped me pick out the curtains. For the first time in years, I got to choose my own furniture, my own silverware, my own life, and it was mine. The fallout came quietly. I heard from Ruth, who heard from her cousin, who heard from someone at church, that Anna and Sven moved into a rental flat 30 minutes outside the city. No garden, no guest room, no credit left. Sven's new employer found out about his side accounts during a routine audit, fired within a week. Anna, well, rumor had it she was teaching piano lessons out of their new living room. A few parents pulled out after news of the lawsuit spread. People love to whisper, especially in neighborhoods like that. I didn't gloat, didn't celebrate, but I slept better. Emma sent a postcard, a real one, stamped, written by hand. Oma, I don't know how to say this. I was wrong. I didn't understand what they did to you. I should have asked questions. You always had a place in my heart. I'm sorry, I forgot that. Love, Emma. I held the card in my hand for a long time. Then I placed it in a drawer, right next to the scarf and Hans' photo. Life didn't get magically easier. I still had mornings where I woke up and half expected to hear Anna's voice down the hall. But now those mornings were followed by walks by the water, by calls with Ruth, by puzzle nights at the community center. By peace, I didn't need a big house. I didn't need applause. I just needed space. My space. And now, I had it. Some nights, I sit on my little balcony with a cup of peppermint tea and just breathe. Not for any particular reason. Not because something happened. Just because I can. There's something deeply comforting about silence when it's on your terms. The kind of silence that doesn't scream loneliness, but hums with peace. For a long time, I thought growing old meant shrinking, getting smaller, quieter, less noticeable. I thought it meant fading into the background of your family's life, becoming a kind of ghost in your own home. But I was wrong. Getting older doesn't mean becoming less. It just means you've carried more memories, more losses, more truths, and I carried all of that until the day my own granddaughter, my sweet Emma, looked at me and said, "You've already lived your life." She didn't mean to hurt me. I know that now. But what cut deepest wasn't the sentence. It was that I believed her. For just a moment I actually believed I had nothing left to give, that I was a burden, that I was done. But that moment passed, because what they forgotten, what I had to remember was this. I built the life they're standing on. I worked double shifts so Anna could take dance lessons. I stayed up all night sewing Halloween costumes. I held my husband's hand through every doctor's appointment until the very last one. I didn't have my time. I made their time, and they repaid me with silence, with convenience, with a goodbye dressed up as necessity. So I responded, not with rage, not with revenge, but with resolve. I used what I had, what they never thought to check: my memory, my records, my rights, and I took back what was mine, quietly, legally, completely. People ask if I regret it, if I miss Anna, if I'd go back and forgive. The answer, no. I don't hate her, but I don't miss her either, because I finally stopped waiting to be seen. I started seeing myself. Ruth and I go to the movies every Friday. We argue about popcorn flavors and cry at bad romance films. I joined a local seniors writing circle. I even submitted a short story. Got published in a tiny magazine no one reads, but I keep 5 copies anyway. And sometimes, Emma calls. It's not often, but when she does, she doesn't rush. She listens. She asks questions. She tells me things I don't know if our relationship will ever go back to what it was, but I do know she sees me now. And that's more than I had before. So if you've made it to the end of this story, thank you. Maybe you're a mother or a daughter. Maybe you're someone who gave too much, or someone who stayed quiet too long. Or maybe you're just curious about what happens when the person everyone underestimated decides to take her life back. Whatever brought you here, let me say this: you are never too old to set boundaries, to protect your peace, to stand up even if your hands shake, because dignity doesn't expire. If this story moved you, please give it a like, tell me in the comments where you're watching from, and subscribe if you want more stories like this one. My name is Gerda, I'm 72, and I just took my life back. This was my story, and maybe, just maybe, it reminded you of your own.